Hey, college football fans, this is Gary Green, longtime sports handicapper and professional sports bettor here in Las Vegas for the past 35 years. And this year, Gary wins videos. And the college football bowl season is now underway. And the good stuff's going to be coming here in the next 48 hours as we will have our first college football bowl playoff game starting 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 o'clock Eastern time on ABC. As two 11-1 teams square off as the Indiana Hoosiers travel to South Bend to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. In this game, Notre Dame is a 7-point favorite and the total is 52. And it's going to be a cold game for sure down in South Bend. It's going to be around 23 degrees at kickoff and probably 60% chance of snow. So could be an old-fashioned football game for sure in the Midwest, and we'll talk a little bit about this game in 1 second. I want to give a shout-out to my UNLV Rebels. Beautiful college football bowl win tonight. Very happy for their success. I've been here for a long time, and I've seen a lot of 2-10 seasons, only a couple of bowl games over all the decades I've been here, and this has been a really fun last couple of years to watch this team. A lot of nice kids, fun bunch, some really good talented kids as well. And they're going to bring in a new head coach in Dan Mullen. I thought that was a great hire, so hats off to UNLV. And that win tonight for UNLV also made us 3-0 in bowl games, which I used to love, but no longer because of the fact that the transfer portal has just screwed up this bowl process completely. But the good news is now it's not just a Final Four where we just have 4 teams and the rest of the teams will have their guys sitting out. Pretty much now with 12 teams in this process, not too many sitting out unless it's an unfortunate kid like the kid at Penn State that's a backup quarterback that's got to get in the portal and grab onto another team before there's no slots left. So understand his position there. But we have a good one here. This is a situation where we have 2 teams that are just 200 miles apart, so it doesn't get any better than that. As for Indiana, their undefeated season went up in flames in their final game of the regular season against Ohio State. Some really bad special teams miscues really caught them and bit them in the ass in that game. Otherwise, they were pretty much still in it, so the final score a little misleading there. But Notre Dame, they lost in week number 2 to the Sisters of the Poor, but they rebounded right off of that with 10 straight victories, so they come into this game very, very hot. When I asked this question, I bet you there wouldn't be a lot of people that would really know this answer, but what team in the college football playoff has the highest scoring points per game average? Anybody know? Well, the answer is Indiana, 43.3 points per game. Got to tip their hat. They had a phenomenal season under their first-year head coach, Curt Cignetti, who on week number 1, I posted a video and someone had asked me a question, who did I think was the best coaching hire in the offseason? And I said Indiana and Curt Cignetti, and he didn't let me down, so I owe him dinner when he comes to Vegas. This is a matchup, though, folks, of the number 1 versus number 2 teams in scoring margin in the nation. Indiana, number 1 at 28.6 points per game. Notre Dame, second at 26.2 points per game. Now, both teams have really, really good, smart quarterbacks, athletic, good passers. Really love the way Riley Leonard runs hard. You always got to be a little leery of that, though, too. A good chance he could get hurt at any time. But Indiana won 10 games this year by 14 points or more, and Notre Dame won 10 games this year by double digits as well. So their winning margins were pretty big. As for Notre Dame, they beat 4 top 25 teams. Indiana beat none. Indiana faced 1 offense ranked in the top half of all offenses in the nation. And when we look at the schedules, they both played pretty much an easier schedule, not too difficult for either of these schools. Now, the crazy note is that the Indiana Hoosiers did not trail in a game this year until the 9th game of the season. Again, for a team that brought in a lot of guys in the transfer portal, they meshed pretty quickly and had a phenomenal season. Now, the key matchup is going to come down to this matchup for this game, no doubt about it. Indiana's run defense ranked number 1 in the nation, allowing 70 rushing yards per game, just 2.46 yards per carry. And they're going to go against Notre Dame's rushing offense. Number 10 in the nation, 225 rushing yards per game. Now, Indiana also has a good pass defense, number 15 in the nation, and their defense held their opponents just shy of 100 yards under their normal season total yards average for each game. Now, their quarterback, Rourke, I've said this on many occasions on some of the shows I guested on this year, that I thought that Rourke, the quarterback, is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the nation. Love this kid. Just a tremendous passer, really got a live NFL-type arm, and they have a solid core of wideouts. In fact, their wideouts averaged 16 yards per catch. They had 29 touchdown pass receptions, and the offensive line protected wonderfully all year, allowing only 18 quarterback sacks all season long. And again, their coach, Cignetti, he has won in the lower ranks. He's won national titles. He did a wonderful job at James Madison, and he'll be ready and prepared. He's been through some big games, this nature, maybe not this nature, but he's been through the mill in this situation, so he'll have his kids ready. This is a pretty good Indiana team. They have talent regardless of who they played. As for Notre Dame, I'm a big fan of the quarterback, Riley Leonard. I think that with this kid signing on, it immediately made Notre Dame a top contender. No doubt about it. They returned 15 starters. They just needed another capable quarterback, and they got one. You got a run-pass threat, which is very, very solid in college football these days. Notre Dame's offensive line, one of the best in the nation, folks. Like Indiana, did not allow a lot of sacks. In fact, they only allowed 14 sacks all season long. And their four-headed running back monster, just some tremendous athletes, 7 yards per carry, 25 touchdowns, 1,890 rushing yards on the season. The defense, they lost their best cornerback early in the season, an All-American, didn't faze them. Then they lost their other All-American defensive tackle, didn't faze them. This is a team that did not skip a beat the last 10 weeks. They did look a little shaky against USC. For whatever reason that day, they just weren't on their game on defense. But the rest of the games, they have been really, really solid. Their pass defense, Notre Dame, also like Indiana, number 3 in the nation. They are holding opponents to 86 total yards per game under their season average. So both of these two teams are almost exactly alike in so many different areas. It's almost uncanny, to be honest with you. Now, I made a lot of money, folks, this year betting on both of these two teams. Both these teams cashed in a lot for me, so it makes it difficult. A lot of times I'll get to this time of the year with the bowl games, and one of the two teams made me a lot of money, and one I didn't even have, or maybe I went against them a couple of times, and that's not the situation here. But I got to give edge to Notre Dame due to the fact that they are at home. Okay, Indiana, when they had their game against Ohio State, what I noticed in that game, their biggest problem was the offensive line was off. And it was off due to the crowd noise of Ohio State. The same thing's going to happen here at Notre Dame on Friday night. So can they be better? Can that experience come into play and make them be more prepared and experienced, or no? We'll find out on Friday night, of course. But they're also going to face the same problem that a lot of teams have faced in South Bend, Indiana. This crowd is one of the top ones, too, in the country. So this is a crowd so hungry for a big win in a bowl game like this, of the higher stature, January 1st type games of past, or the big college football playoff situations. So can Indiana slow this three-headed monster, basically, of Notre Dame? That's the question. If they can do what they did to Ohio State, and they played Ohio State very well, they allowed them only 125 yards, I think, on 29 carries, they can stay in the game. They just have to play better on special teams. You can't play terrible special teams on the road. It will haunt you, and it did in that game. But again, the final outcome of that game was much closer than what the final score showed. So that's one thing to look at. As far as this game goes for a trend, one that works against Notre Dame, And it kind of reminds me of the Kirk Cousins. And if you watched my stock down video last week, it was not a team, it was Kirk Cousins, because he's my most hated player. I hate Kirk Cousins more than any player in the history of the NFL, maybe. But now he's benched, so that makes it pretty funny. But when you never won a big game, Lamar Jackson's in the same category, you just can't snap your fingers and make it happen. You got to make that first one happen. And that's difficult. Getting that first one, getting off that schneid is big. Notre Dame, folks, is 0-8, straight up, 0-8 against the spread in New Year's 6 games or BCS games. They've been outscored 300 points to 137. There's only one word you can use for that: ouch. And they got to turn that around. Is this the team that can do it? It's most likely they can. Again, they caught the home field advantage, which is really big. It would have been much better for Indiana if this had been on a neutral field. They'll be able to have some of their fans there, of course, because they don't even have to travel, which is nice. Tickets are going to be a real expensive ticket to go out there and freeze your ass off. Something I wouldn't do. But I'll be more than happy to watch this game right here in my warm house. But this is a situation where you have two teams that are really played well all season long. Neither one of them really missed a beat all season long. Of course, they both flubbed up once, which cost them probably both of them getting a bye. But in this situation, okay, I feel like Notre Dame's offense is kind of like Ohio State's in a way. And if Indiana can hold them to 316 total yards and where they did rushing the ball, that'll put a lot of pressure on Riley Leonard to pass the ball for big yardage if they can, slow that rush game down. Now, Indiana and Ohio State, for the most part, other than the special teams blunders, was a really low-scoring game. So I'm going to lean to the under right now, under 52. Again, snow, very cold weather, two very solid head coaches who I believe will play more not to lose than to win the game unless they fall behind by, say, 2 touchdowns. If the game can stay close, then I expect that this game will not get away from either one of these two teams. I don't expect a lot of big-time scoring plays in this game. I think the defenses have showed that already this year, that they can stop the run and the pass. I think we'll see a lot of conservative play, punt the ball, see who can make the first mistakes. And again, if Indiana can clean up their special teams, I would expect that this game be a lower scoring game. Winning team maybe only scoring around 20 to 23 points, something in that range. More field goals than not, but then even in the very cold, you're not going to try the longer field goals, which turns into you punting the ball, punting it down there, getting it down inside the 10-yard line, forcing the other team to move down the field, and be cautious, especially when you're behind the 10-yard line. So all these intangibles make more for an under play. I'm not a big under better. For the most part, I'm an over better, but this is a situation that plays out for the under. So we'll give a lean here. It's not a solid pick yet. I haven't made a pick for sure yet. I'm making this tape a couple of days in advance, so we'll run with that for now, and we'll just say that we hope everybody has a happy holidays. May all your bowl wagers be winning ones, but please, folks, never bet what you cannot afford to lose, and do not bet a lot of parlays. They will catch up to you, and they will bite you in the ass and cost you your bankroll. So be careful there as well. And make sure you bookmark us and save us at Gary Wins Videos. And hopefully you enjoy all these bowl games and have a safe holiday season. God bless.